Okay, so today we are going to be learning order of operations, and I'm using the direct instruction method. So to start, we are going to look at our objectives and essential questions. Our objective for the content is, after participating in this lesson, students will be able to solve equations using the order of operations with no more than 2 incorrect answers. And for the method, it's after the class lesson using direct instruction, students will be able to write the 4 steps of instruction with 100% accuracy. And for our essential questions for the content, what do effective problem solvers do, and what do they do when they get stuck? And for the method, it's how can direct instruction be most effectively performed in the classroom? And this is step 1 of direct instruction, which is introduce. So now to get an understanding of order of operations, we're going to watch a short video. So now that we watched the video and we have a slight idea of what order of operation is, I'm going to ask you guys for your ideas before we actually learn what it is. So anything that you may have learned from the video.
Parentheses first.
Okay. You always go left to right. Okay. One more thing. How about the acronym they used?
Please excuse my beer hand salad. Okay. Parentheses, X buttons.
Yeah. So we're going to learn them step by step. So now we can move on. So what is order of operations? So you guys have your worksheet. It's guided notes, so make sure you're filling in as we go along. So what is order of operations? Order of operations are the steps to evaluate a numerical expression. So it was the algebra equations that were in the video. So the first step is to simplify the expressions inside grouping symbols. The second step is to evaluate all powers. The third step is to do all multiplication and or division from left to right. And the last step is to do all addition or subtraction from left to right. So I'll explain these in more depth when we move on. Anyone need more time? So what do the letters stand for? So this is also step 2 of direct instruction, which is presentation. So the P stands for parentheses. E stands for exponents. M stands for multiplication. D stands for division. A stands for addition. And the S stands for subtraction. So now we're going to look at a sample equation, and we're going to point out what each of those letters look like in an equation. So parentheses are the two little things around the 3 plus 2. The exponent is the little 2 that's attached to the whole number. It can also be higher than 2. It can be any number. This is a division symbol. This is an addition symbol, a multiplication symbol, and a subtraction symbol. Okay. So now we're going to complete a think, pair, share. So on the next page of your packet, you have 4 equations with 2 boxes next to them. I want you all to fill out the first box on your own, and after a few minutes, we're going to share with our partner, and then we'll go over them as a class. Okay, so now take a moment and share with your partner, and you can either correct it or you can wait until we go over it as a class. But compare your answers. Anyone need more time? No? Okay. Now we're going to look over at the board and we're going to solve them together. So for the first one, if we use PEMDAS in the correct order, we're going to start with 18 minus 4. So 18 minus 4 is 14. And if you bring down the plus 2, 14 plus 2 is 16. So 16 is your answer. So make sure you're writing your correct work down in the third column if you didn't get that one right. Does anyone have any questions? So for number 2, you start with the 8 divided by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. If we bring down the 24 plus 2, we get 26. So 26 is the answer. For number 3, we start with the 2 times 3. So 3 times 2 is 6. We bring down the 15 minus 6, and we get 9. Any questions so far? Okay. And for the last one, we start left to right, even though we have division and multiplication. So 36 divided by 2 is 18. So then we bring down the times 9, and 18 times 9 is 162. Any other questions on the think, pair, share? Okay, so now we're going to go over some steps that effective problem solvers use when they get stuck. This is also on your lesson sheet, so make sure you're filling that in. So one way to get past a problem that you're stuck on is to refresh or replay the steps in your head. So using PEMDAS, you can write them out and you can double check that you're following the right order of operations when solving the problem. The second one is start from the beginning and try to identify the first problem or the step where you went wrong. A lot of times you can accidentally do the addition first before you multiply or divide. So if you take a step back and see where you went wrong, you might be able to identify your problem. The third one is to simply identify that you are stuck. If you're taking longer than 10 minutes on a problem, you know you're stuck. So you need to use these other tools to try and figure out where you went wrong and how you can get yourself unstuck. And the last one is to redefine the problem. See if you can switch some words around or do something different that can say the same thing but in a different way. Now we're going to do some guided practice, and this is step 3 of direct instruction, which is guided practice. So let's look over on the board. So I have 2 equations listed, but I have the incorrect way, or we're going to solve it incorrectly, and we're also going to solve it correctly. So for the first one, if we solve it incorrectly, you're going to start with 9 divided by 3, which is 3. And then if you bring down the plus 4 times 6, 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 times 6 is 42. So that's the incorrect way. So now if we do it the correct way, we would start with 9 divided by 3, which is 3. Bring down the plus 4 and the times 6. So instead of doing the addition, we would have to do the multiplication. So 6 times 4 is 24. And then you add the 3, which gets you 27. So here you can see that the steps truly do matter, because if we do them incorrectly, you get a much higher number than what the correct answer is. So for the next one, we can solve it incorrectly. So I'm going to start with 2 squared, which is 4. I'm going to bring down the plus 2 minus the 10 minus 3. 4 plus 2 is 6. And then bring down the 10 minus 3. 10 minus 3 is 7, and 6 minus 7 equals -1. So now we're going to solve it correctly. So we always start with the parentheses. So 10 minus 3 is 7. Bring down the minus 2, or 2 squared plus 2 minus 7. So then exponents next. 2 squared is 4. 4 plus 2 minus 7. 4 plus 2 is 6. Minus 7, and our answer is -1. So, for this example, we solved it incorrectly and still received the right answer. But the reason I use this example is to show that just because it works on one doesn't mean it always will work on the other. So we need to make sure we always follow the steps in the correct order, because even though it may work, it may also be wrong. Any questions on that? Okay, so now I need you all to get out your device and use this link, this room ID, and make sure your name is in the order of last and first. This is also step 4 of direct instruction. And let me know when you are done doing that so I can switch the screen. I don't know if I already said this, but step 4 of direct instruction is independent practice. So this you're going to do on your own, and then we'll go over it as a class. Is everyone good with this screen? So now go ahead and solve those. It's going to be 3 quick questions. Okay, so now that everyone's finished, we're going to look at our results. Okay, so the first one says, which of the following is the correct acronym regarding order of operations in math? So A says, my very excellent mother just served us pizza. B says, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, which is PEMDAS. And then C, never eat soggy waffles. So does anyone want to answer the question?
Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Okay. So then, as a class, it was 50-50, so those are our results. All right, for the next one, it was 18 minus 4 plus 2. So, Maddie, do you want to explain how you did this one?
18 minus 4 is 14, and if you add 2, it's 16.
Okay, so let's see how we did as a class. Okay, so we got 100% on that one. So the answer is 16 if you start with the subtraction and then do the addition after, because we do them from left to right. And our last question is 24 plus 8 divided by 4. And Katie, do you want to tell us how you did that one?
You divide 8 by 4 and get 2, and then 24 plus 2 is 26.
Okay. And as a class, we got 100% on that one. Okay. So now back to the presentation. Our last thing for today is our future learning. So I just wanted to tell everyone that this rule, or PEMDAS, applies all throughout future math classes, like Algebra and Algebra 2, and it also can be used in different subjects like science, specifically physics when you're doing conversion factors or anything with math, basically. And now we're just going to take a short quiz, and it's on the last page of your packet.